Oh, what a feeling when you win on a Wednesday evening. Newcastle United have just beaten Everton by 1-0. And me and Mr. Lawler, Lee's got the score.
There's no ceiling here.
There's no ceiling here. We're here in the office for Newcastle 1, Everton 0. It is scoring the players. Newcastle have won 3 out of the last 4 games and they're undefeated in October. Just a little recap for the scores. I'm just looking at the One Football app in regards to all the Premier League matches that have been happening this evening. There has been 5 matches for the Premier League. It was 2 last night. Brighton 0, Nottingham Forest 0, Crystal Palace 2, Wolves 1. It's finished Bournemouth 0, Southampton 1. Big win for Southampton this evening. Brentford 0, Chelsea 0. We'll see what that means for Newcastle on the Premier League table. Liverpool 1, West Ham United 0. Nunes with the goal there. Newcastle 1, Everton 0. Get in. And Man United 2, Tottenham 0. Bit of a surprise result, I think. I don't think many people would have thought Tottenham would have lost 2-0 tonight, but they have. Lee, Nick Pope in the middle of our goal had no saves to make.
Yeah, it's a tough one to score when he's done out. So he had an awkward cross to come forward, didn't he? I think it was a Botman. He had to get over him and claimed that.
That was the hardest thing he had to do all night.
Yeah, and his kicking was all right. I'll give him a 7. I didn't think he did anything wrong. He didn't have load to do, but he's in a team that's keeping loads of clean sheets at the minute. We've got the best defence in the league, and he's a big chunk of the reason why. So, although not tonight, but 7 out of 10 for Nick Pope, and it was a battle of the England goalkeepers tonight, wasn't it?
Yeah, one's got massive arms. One of them's got little arms.
Yeah, you'll see it in the last word, everybody. You'll see it in the last word. There's a few T-Rexes going around, so keep your eyes peeled for that.
There's loads of dinosaurs in the Gallagher as well. It's just so funny to see.
It's not very nice to call your own fan base dinosaurs.
I'm not saying that at all.
See, they got little brains.
No comment. No, it was funny actually. We bumped into a little lad, must be about 6-year-old, just bought an inflatable dinosaur at the Goose in Newcastle. It was just brilliant to see it. So big shout out to Tony and Craig there. But yeah, look, 7 out of 10 for Nick Pope. Get your comments and get your man of the match in as well, by the way. Really interested to see who you think man of the match was for Newcastle United this evening. I'll move. What am I going to do? I'm going to go right to left to left to right. I'll go right to left because I'm right-footed. I remember saying to you once in one video that I'll let you start with left back because you're left-footed. And you went, I'm actually right-footed. it's always stayed with me.
What's the word? Antidextrous on my hands.
But not with your feet.
Not my feet, no. So I'm both-handed. I mean, it's strange and weird, but I'm right-footed.
Actually, fair enough.
But both-handed, I'll
tell you who's right-footed. Mr. Kieran Trippier, captain Newcastle this afternoon, or this evening rather, 7:30 kick off on Amazon. I hope you watched it on Amazon today because Shay Given was there and Shay Given knows what he's talking about. But in all seriousness,
who was he up against?
Well, he was up against Damari Gray, who
Gordon, wasn't he?
No, it was Damari Gray to start with.
Later on, wasn't it?
Damari Gray to start with, but causing no issues. Anthony Gordon is a little rat, causing no issues in Newcastle.
Postman Pat, man.
Postman Pat
didn't deliver at night.
He's not Postman Pat.
Didn't deliver at night, but Amazon did.
Exactly, but he's not even Postman Pat. He's Claire Balding. He's the male Claire Balding. 100%. Honestly, seeing him as close as we did, I was like, you have definitely presented something on BBC. 100%. But in all seriousness, Kieran Trippier I thought was absolutely superb. He was fine. I love how he creates space for himself. It doesn't matter who he's playing against. He just finds that space on the right-hand side, linked up well with Almiron, which we'll touch about later. Fine performance by Kieran Trippier. Clean sheet in the back pocket. 8 out of 10 for Newcastle's captain this evening. Getting your comments whether you disagree with my rating or Lee's ratings this evening as well. Subscribe to the channel if you can. That'd be greatly appreciated. Do you want the Rolls Royce or the Elegant Man?
I'll have Botman this time.
No, Botman.
Because I always seem to get Fabian Schar now that I'll just probably give an extra mark just because he's good looking.
Yeah, but with Botman, everyone talks about how he's a Rolls Royce. Dominic Calvert-Lewin came back in. Poor from Frank Lampard, in my opinion. Why would you give him?
It's like the first time, though, Botman's faced like a physique type of player this season. It is, isn't it?
It is. I think like a out-and-out physical centre forward.
You don't get many of them in the Premier League now. They're all like small, diminutive, move around. And then Calvert-Lewin was very... I'm probably being a little bit disrespectful of him. He's quite static and he wants the ball to head, chest, feet.
He does, but Calvert-Lewin had a couple of nice touches here now and then.
Obviously,
no shot. He did. No shots on goal.
But it's something different that he hasn't faced yet, and he's past that. We're flying colours. I'm going to go 9.
I thought he was superb. I really did. And do you know the thing is with him is that nothing seems to faze him at the minute.
I like the fact that he also talks back towards Fabian Schar as well and tells him what to do.
Yeah, but
that shows the maturity of him at his young age, because he's, what, 22? But he also gets it back off people around him as well. He takes it as well as giving it out. So that's him learning on the job kind of thing, even though he's established defender. He's had a great start at Newcastle. But I like that, mate, because Trippier's constantly like that, isn't he?
In terms of centre-halves, has he had the best start to in a Newcastle shirt from a centre-half point of view?
No.
Who's better then?
Woodgate.
Oh, get in the comments. This is a really good debate.
From the start, Woodgate was, from day one, yes, his injuries, from day one, Woodgate was phenomenal. He didn't have a bad patch at all.
Get in the comments who has had a better start in a Newcastle shirt in centre-half, Jonathan Woodgate or Sven Botman. I think that'll be a really good debate. I don't normally say Lee deserves a lot of credit, but he deserves a lot of credit with that comment there. So there you go. Look at him, man. Honestly, he looks like he's got the bee's knees in him. I'll go with Fabian Schar then. Fantastic performance against Manchester United. Got a knock. I'm going to say it again. Fantastic performance against Everton this time. Got a knock. Will I see him start against Spurs? I don't think so. I think Jamal Lascelles will start. If he's fresh, you can put him in for one game. I know Newcastle on a bit of a roll, but Newcastle got a better chance of beating Aston Villa at home than they have Tottenham away, in my opinion. Play Lascelles for that game, and just so Schar can stay fit from now until the World Cup starts. But in terms of tonight's performance, again, quite comfortable. He gives Newcastle that option with that right peg. I know we never had that really with it on the left hand side until Botman came in terms of that outward pass.
One stage, though, Fabian Schar was on the right wing when he carried the ball.
Yeah, it was class, wasn't it? It was really, really good. Again, Newcastle defenders are going to be judged by clean sheets, and Newcastle got a clean sheet. Nick Poole has another shot to save.
Job
done. Was he better than Botman?
Yeah, he's playing the best football in his career at Newcastle.
£3.5 million or £3.6 million Newcastle United paid for Fabian Schar in 2018.
We've only got him, and I'm not putting a dark cloud on him. We only got him that because of relegation clause, but still a bargain.
Yeah, Rafa Benitez, the former Everton manager, former Newcastle manager as well, though, of course. Thank you very much, Mr. Benitez. I'll go 9 out of 10. I'll match you today.
Some comments about the Woodgate stuff here as well.
Oh, well, tell us a few comments. Go on.
So we have Steve says Woodgate at the present time, but I can say Botman eventually eclipsing him. So that's a great comment there. We did got a couple of more as well. Where have I just seen it? Steve said Botman. Prakash, thanks for your comment there. Woodgate. Frau, if I pronounced that right. Norway, Botman over Woodgate. Woodgate says Ngenga, if I've pronounced that right. So it seems to be very 50-50 on this. Chesria says I have to agree on Leon Woodgate, but it's really close. So it seems quite 50-50 that.
So you're nearly right.
Well, 50-50 that. But the thing is that people who are watching are old enough to remember Woodgate from 2002.
You certainly can.
I can't.
I can't, just about. But yeah, Jonathan Woodgate was a superb defender for Newcastle, but it's a good debate. Get that in the comments as well. Left back, were you surprised that Dan Burn started, Lee? And what did you make of his performance tonight?
Yes, because I'll be even more surprised if he starts again on Sunday, because he's not. Yes, he's played there for Brighton, but Matt Target's probably thinking, scratching my head early on a couple of weeks ago, thinking, why am I not in this team? But now he's probably looking and thinking, shit, I've got an uphill task to get it in the side.
Competition for places.
Because it's not just that. You've got Paul Dummett's behind him as well. And when Matt Ritchie comes back, he's not really a left back, but especially Dummett's not going to look in. But Dan Burn handled Postman Pat with ease. I'm going to score him a 9. Didn't do anything wrong. He had competition again when they changed it to not Damari, it was Dwight McNeil. He didn't even get didn't get in touch with the game. Dan Burn on the weekend did get skinned by Anthony a couple of times. I thought they may have used Gordon's pace to get in behind, but no, Dan Burn handled him perfectly well. 9 out of 10. If he starts on some different challenge, isn't it? Because then you're up against, the likes of Son and possibly Perisic and Charleston if he makes it.
Kulusevski may be back as well.
So, but yeah, tonight though, all the defenders are scoring high for obvious reasons.
Yeah, 9 out of 10 for Big Dan Burn. Get in the comments below as well if you agree with those ratings as well. It's been a good night for Newcastle's defenders so far. In the score and the play, so we'll make sure you give this video a like as well. Let's move on to the midfield. I'm going to start with Joe Linton, the Brazilian £40 million midfielder. I thought Onana had a really good game for Everton. It's a shame that he's playing for Everton because I actually think he's better than Everton in my particular opinion.
Cost him a lot of money though, didn't he?
He did. I think he's too good for them. I really, really do. I think he'll not be at Everton too long. I think he'll be there maybe 18 months max. I really, really do. I think he's a really good, promising young player. But I thought he gave Joe Linton problems. Joe Linton got a booking as well. He came off a half time with it. It looks like more of a knock and more of a precaution. But when you got someone like Joe Willock on the bench, I think it helps. I'll give him a 6 out of 10 today. Probably slightly generous.
Sorry, someone's asking what all the NFTV team were at the game. 3 of us were, mate. You'll see that in the match reaction, which is just going out, and the last word later on.
I'll give you a clue who was there. Hip, hip.
Bad crack, that, like. Joe Linton a 6, yeah.
Yeah, Joe Linton a 6, probably maybe slightly generous, but look, he did link up well a couple of times.
He played 45, didn't he?
He played 45. He linked up well with Bruno a couple of times as well. But yeah, 6 out of 10.
Do you reckon the yellow card plus that little knock that he's got has played a big factor on him being subbed then?
Yeah,
not later.
Yeah, and I think I was going to mention that with Eddie Howe, to be honest, but very clever management as well, because Willock is absolutely fine and he's flying in midfield as well. So I think it was a sensible substitution. I'll give you Bruno. Bruno there was moments I was like, wow, there's some passes you just go, you expect him to make a different pass and he makes another pass and you think, why did I not see that? Why did I not just trust him? Should have scored in the first half if I'm being picky when Miggy had just put Newcastle on, dragged his shot.
Yeah, 2 of them, didn't he?
He did. He probably wasn't as effective tonight, but he was still very, very comfortable. But it was a good battle because I thought Idrissa Gueye and Onana had their moments today. I do like Onana. Gueye, gave away a couple of silly free kicks from an Everton point of view. But in terms of Bruno's performance, Bruno's going to give you an X amount in terms of like maybe a 6, 7 out of 10 every single week. But he's probably had a quieter game today and Newcastle still won. I'll go just about comfortably today.
I'll go on my 7. I think he's the best out of the 3 that we had in midfield today, Bruno. So you mentioned obviously, I mentioned the couple of shots that he dragged wide, a couple of nice stuff. Look, it's not his best performance, but if he's having a bad game and I'm giving him a 7, I mean, we've got a player here, talent here, haven't we? This is a player that's, it's been heavily linked to the likes of Real Madrid, and we'll probably expect it after the World Cup. If he has a good World Cup as well, bigger clubs might come in. I say bigger clubs than Newcastle will come in again. 7 out of 10. He's the best out of. I don't want to say bad bunch because no one really had a bad game. Had probably an average game in centre field. I just don't think the battle was won there tonight. But 7 out of 10 for Bruno. But yeah, bigger things to come, and he'll want to put in a performance if he starts on Sunday.
And he's only just come back from injury as well. I know he got taken off against Manchester United and he's played 2 games. Just briefly, do you think Eddie Howe's managing him well in terms of the minutes he's getting before he goes to the World Cup as well?
I think any player that gets to the World Cup's going to be worried in case they get injured. Fabian Schar is another one as well. He's obviously had a couple of knocks the last couple of games. So it's very, very tight. If you get injured now, you miss the World Cup. I think we've just seen it with a couple of Premier League players. I think N'Golo Kante is now going to miss the World Cup. So anybody who gets injured now misses the World Cup because it's only literally, 3 weeks away, 3.5 weeks. So, yeah, I think he is managing him. But you've got to play him. I think he's one of them on Sunday. You've got to risk it and play him.
Even if he gives you 60,
I've got equality. We've got equality. No one can bring the ball forward. Joe Willock, to some extent, can bring the ball, but different attributes to Bruno.
Yeah, 100%. And the We've Got Bruno in the Middle song was in full voice of St. James's Park. And that World Cup is 3.5 weeks away. Someone told me he's off for 4 weeks for a World Cup. Some bloke, I don't know who it is. Might be in this office, but I'm not going to mention it too much. Smiling away. Anyway, we'll move on to Sean Longstaff. I think there's a bit of frustration with Sean Longstaff's performance, particularly first half. I thought he was better in the second half before people shout at me in the comments.
There's already people saying that.
Yeah. I think, obviously, there's another player I think he was worse than Sean today, but I think there was little sparks, but again, it was almost like a Sean Longstaff performance that we're used to.
He wants too much time on the ball. And he can't in the Premier League. It's fast paced.
He does. I do think there was a couple of good passes in that second third, especially in the first half, which was linking really well with Trippier. But again, I just want to see a bit more from Sean Longstaff. I really, really do. These are the sort of games where I actually think he could excel in. I really, really do. But I don't think it was his day to day. I'll go 6 out of 10, probably slightly generous in terms of I think when you look at the fact that we have one at home, and I did think he was better in the second half. Defensively, he's very, very solid. I don't think people realise that at times, but when he misplaces a pass or didn't have a shot in the first half when he was in the box, people will highlight that because he's next to Bruno, because he's next to Joe Linton, because he's next to Willock. He might not be the most popular name, but defensively, he does do a good job for Newcastle. Do you agree or disagree with that?
No, I do agree, especially the low block. If you're trying to hang on to a game, you feel more safe that he'll do the low block probably better than the others, to be honest, is at midfield. But John Shelby's obviously sat on the bench the last couple of games, so will he get a 20 minutes on Sunday? Who knows?
Does he start on Sunday? Or was that too risky?
Too risky. I think you mentioned about Bruno managing him. He's managing John Joe, but it would be great to see him back. And again, that's competition for places, what we want. In an ideal world, if everybody's fit and John Joe starts and Sean drops to the bench.
I've had someone that people would perceive as a negative player today. I'm going to give you Jacob Murphy. It's getting to this.
Miggy?
No, I've given you some good players tonight. Jacob Murphy today wasted his opportunity in terms of being at St James's Park. He was good against Brentford, quiet against Man United, good against Fulham, but he was poor today.
It's consistency for these type of players. This is why he's not a Premier League player.
Seamus Coleman had in his back pocket, and Seamus Coleman's 57.
I'll say it as well. Sean Longstaff's not a Premier League player. It's just the two inconsistent. To be a Premier League player, you have to show consistency. Out of what? Every 10 games, you've got to have 7 or 8 good games. Jacob Murphy's has 2 or 3.
Do you think it was the fact that today he was up against Seamus Coleman, Lee?
He's old.
Seamus Coleman's in his mid-30s.
I'm not wrong with being mid-30s.
But I'm not in my mid-30s before
in terms of football and sense, he's older than he, but he's got that look. He started off brilliantly because he created that chance and he went past a couple of players. So I was like, right, he's up for it. And then after that, after 5 minutes,
is he feeling the pressure?
I think he's actually enjoyed playing more so because he's getting an opportunity. But when he has a bad game, instantly he's going to think, shit, ASM's back.
But you know, that's what I'm saying. Do you think he's feeling the pressure? He knows that ASM's injury, he knows that Isaac potentially could play on that left-hand side. But
well, yeah, I've always
Fraser, Anderson.
I'd have Fraser over Murphy every day. Because Fraser gives you a little bit more than what Miggy does. So
he doesn't start for me on Sunday, Jacob Murphy.
I wouldn't have him I wouldn't even have him in the side. So I just didn't rate the lad. And I's like a Newcastle fan and all that, but look, at the end of the day, Newcastle need to be moving up that Premier League table and we're winning games. And come January, then this following summer transfer, I don't see Jacob Murphy being here next season.
He doesn't.
To come the summer, no. If Newcastle qualify for Europe, he might have a role to play there. But I kind of see him being at the club more than a year.
Interesting. Do you agree with Lee in the comments? Let us know, because I think
did I score him? I didn't do that.
What do you give him?
5.
Yeah, I agree with that. I think he was the worst player today, and that's not a spoiler for the players that he was. He wasn't that good today. Mr. Man of the Match, potentially. I've got Mr. Miguel Almiron, the match winner. 5 goals for Miguel Almiron. 5 goals already this season, and we're still in October. Well done, Miguel Almiron. And what a fantastic goal. It reminded me, Lee, a little bit of his chance against Brentford. And when he comes in on his left foot in the middle of the park. But this one went in the back of the net because Jordan Pickford's
because Rhea saved it, didn't he?
But Jordan Pickford's got little arms, and David Raya is a better goalkeeper than Jordan Pickford. Some would argue. But yeah, fantastic from Miggy. And it was the standout moment of the whole game. I'm going to go 9 out of 10 just for that moment itself if we're matching him with Botman and Schar in terms of the ratings we've had. Big moment when we needed it, and he was always a threat. I think Mikolenko couldn't really work him out, especially in the first half. Second half, he did quiet. He was a lot more quiet, but goals win games. Big moments win games. Big moments keep you in the top 6.
Well, I ask you the same question I asked you last week: ASM or Almiron?
When did you ask me Brentford?
I'm sure I asked you last week.
Yeah, you did.
You said Brentford. ASM.
I did say ASM because.
But now is that bridge gapped? Because it's a player who's red hot.
It's shortened. It has shortened, but I don't mind these difficult questions. I really don't, because it's nice to have these
That's why
difficult
you're on
questions.
FTV
Because,
for.
exactly. Right now, Miguel Almiron can't be dropped. Right now, he can't be dropped. Saint-Maximin will be back in because Jacob Murphy's not as good as Alan Saint-Maximin. I know that's the obvious, but you can't drop Miggy. Away from home, he's slightly different kettle of fish. Take away the Fulham performance because he was outstanding. If he can produce that sort of performance against Tottenham, yeah, go on then. I'll agree with you. Full on agree with you. At the minute, very, very close.
He must be, even though he's not a striker. And Haaland running away, but Miggy can't be that far off second or third place for top scorer.
He's got 5 goals. Haaland's got 15.
Yeah, Haaland's running away. I just said that, but from second and third.
No, like I think Kane's got 9 and Tony's got 8 already.
No, but half of Tony's are penalties. But anyways,
I'll put it in the comments and I'll ask you the question, but get this in the comments as well. Is Miguel Almiron Newcastle's player of the season so far?
No.
Bruno?
No. Fabian Schar?
No.
I'm saying Fabian Schar.
He's been brilliant, but it's not Fabian Schar.
Look at defence. I think it's again difficult question. It's a good question because
thank you.
People will have. That's going to be clipped up now for Sam Mullen, isn't it?
Yeah, it's a really good question.
It's going to be clipped up for Sam. People are now saying a couple of people are agreeing with us in the chat there. Fabian Schar is mine because he's gone on the radar.
It's only because you fancy him. I'm sick of this.
Can I just get? There's nothing wrong with like people who are, gay or anything like that. But I'm straight, and he's me man crush, and it's not because of that reason. It's not because of that reason at all. I think he's got to notice, and Botman's got all the plaudits next to him, and he's constantly 8, 9 every single week. So for me, he gets that for that reason. Look at what goals against Column. He's a different player. He's a player reborn like many others. Bruno, because going forward, he's glamorous. Botman, because he's a new signing, he's young.
Glamorous.
Yeah, well, he is, isn't he? He's like, he is glamorous, isn't he? He's that sexy player, isn't he? That all the other teams are going to talk about. For me, it's Fabian Schar because I see Newcastle live every week. Without him on that side, if Jamal Lascelles comes in, now we're conceding goals.
If Fabian Schar has been the best player,
Bruno, I think it's so marginal, though.
Yeah. If, in your opinion, if Fabian Schar is the best player, Bruno's the most important player, what's Miggy?
Miggy's probably the most improved, quite clearly, by a mile. If we're giving out awards now, he wins that, doesn't he? And about 5 of them are goal of the seasons. And I said 15, but because I've got Haaland on the brain.
Is that goal tonight better than the one against Fulham, or is that Fulham goal still the best?
Fulham ones, fuck me. We were all shocked when we're celebrating that. People were like, oh, everyone around me it's almost impossible that. So the Fulham goal is the best.
You enjoyed that ticket, didn't you?
I did. I didn't have enough points for that one. I've got a lot of points, but I enjoyed that one. Thank you.
You're welcome. Hey, Callum Wilson. I want to know what you did in this game because I don't think you did a lot, did he, Lee?
A lot of wrestling, didn't he? I like the fact that he's aggressive, though. He does wind up defenders. A couple of flash points during the game. Any
chances today?
No. But also, I think sometimes, not every time, but I think if Bruno isn't on top of his game, Wilson's not going to get them slide passes. You normally tend to find that we'll play the balls from the full-backs and go, especially Trippier, we'll try and play in Wilson in behind. Didn't see too much of that tonight. But I also think because we play with inverted wingers, sometimes playing wingers with a right foot on the right side and left foot on the left side, you can get the out-serve cross as well. Wilson lacks that. So I think that's where you probably suffer tonight. But it's not often that we'll see it, though. I think, get the Spurs game out of the way. We expect Wilson to grab a couple before the World Cup.
How many points would you give him today out of 10?
I'm going to score him a 6.
Yeah, probably about right for Callum Wilson today. I think, again, he'd probably be a little bit frustrated that he didn't score today. It's probably the game that you would go, I fancy a couple today. But then again, he's up against James Tarkowski and Connor Cody, 2 experienced Premier League defenders. And sometimes you've got to go, do you know what? I don't think they did a job on him today because I did think there was times where Wilson was getting a good pockets of spaces and he probably does the dirty work for the likes of Almiron and I'll say.
Well, Everton are going to look at it and think we're being beaten by a worldie. That's probably their positive spin on it. The negative spin they didn't create out.
I thought Everton were really poor at times.
I know I did, but an optimistic Evertonian will probably say we got beaten by a worldie. There's a point in St James's Park, which at the minute is goalless for a lot of teams.
We got beaten by a worldie, mate.
Yeah, of course.
Is that what it comes? Is that what it's coming for Everton at the minute? God knows. First substitute was Joe Willock, and make sure you give the match reaction a watch, and also the last word a watch later on tonight, because Mr. Hip Hip doesn't like Joe Willock. He just does not rate him for some reason, and it just irritates me now. But good evening to you, Harry. But in all seriousness, Willock probably should have scored second half.
He had 3 chances.
Yeah, he did.
But I like that though. I said that, didn't I?
Who else does that apart from Bruno?
Because he brings the ball forward with pace as well.
Yeah.
Bruno will do it at a slower pace, but Wilson runs at you. And not Wilson, Willock, sorry. But Willock gets in the box, and we need to see more of that because we are screaming out. I wouldn't say desperate for it, but it'd be nice if we have a midfielder that grabs 10 goals.
I thought Willock was good when he came on. I really did. I'm going to give him a 7 because I know you don't like 6.5, so I'll go 7. But he probably should have scored. Anderson with a cross. We'll talk about Ellie Anderson in a second. But yeah, I thought Willock was good when he came on, and there was times where he just got Newcastle out of a bit of danger, bit of pressure from Everton with his runs as well, which has helped in the second half of games for Newcastle. So
I think I'll start on Sunday.
Yeah, and it wouldn't surprise me. The former Arsenal player will probably want to get one over Tottenham. So that would be nice from his point of view as well. I'm sure the Arsenal fans would appreciate that, but I'm sure they probably appreciate the fact more that they got beat tonight of Manchester United by 2-0, which was on Amazon. So make sure you give that a watch after you see Newcastle's highlights against Everton, because we won by 1-0. 2 substitutes that happened in quick succession. I'll let you start with Elliot Anderson. He was a breath of fresh air in terms of, he just did the simple things well. I think he only gave the ball away once, won corners when he needed to, put in a lovely crossing for Willock with his left peg. The fans like him as well, little Geordie Maradona. He did better than Murphy, and that was what he has to look at in terms of what he's up against, doesn't he? At the minute, with no ASM on the bench.
I disagree. I think he struggled.
Really? I don't think he struggled.
No, that's probably harsh. No, I expected more. That's probably.
In what sense?
Getting the ball more, because I've seen it in pre-season. I've seen it a couple of times when he's come on. He was a little bit shy, like I thought. Like he was demanding, he asked for it. That's probably the negative side of him. He did give the ball away a couple of times. I think that was probably nerves, but he had a long time on the pitch tonight. What was it, 25 minutes?
Do you think Eddie Howe said to him, "Look, I need you to run your arse off and just basically put in more of a defensive display, and if you get a chance on the
he's not a 7 out of 10 and out like that."
No, I'm just talking about what Eddie Howe said in terms of what he asked from his wingers today, because Ryan Fraser didn't do a lot going forward, but defensively did what he had to do.
That's the way you said it. It's just that know-how, isn't it? That Fraser has, like winning little free kicks and winning little throw-ins by clipping off the defender's knees and stuff. I'll give Anderson a 6. I didn't think he's brought the game into spark, into life, but it's good to see him get a lot more minutes. I think he won't get that at Spurs, though. I think he'll have less minutes at Spurs because I think it's more of a tougher game. I think Eddie Howe will probably look at more of his senior players. But, 25 minutes to St James's Park. Won a great corner. The crowd went nuts from him, started singing his name. But yeah, you need to start that Palace game for me in the Cup. That's his time to shine and say, right, I want to be considered after the World Cup for your team.
Yeah, I think that's a big couple of weeks for Ellie Anderson as well, because I don't think if he doesn't get the game time, will they be going, right, it might be best for you to go and play.
But if he can't do it on loan, it's got to be a championship side. There's no point getting League One in that.
100%. But imagine if he went on, say to Burnley on loan or Blackburn on loan and just go, look, play the rest of the season in the Championship, get minutes under your belt, and you'll be flying with us next season. That will probably, I would imagine what will happen. But if he's still at Newcastle in January and plays the full season, I wouldn't be disappointed with that either.
He's learning, though.
Exactly. And look, a new lad playing Premier League football, bit different.
And it's not just him. Sean Longstaff should be looking at Bruno learning off him.
Exactly. Getting your comments as well. What do you make of what Ellie Anderson played? How Ellie Anderson played tonight, and what we should do with him moving forward? Ryan Fraser, I'm going to match Lee in terms of 6 out of 10. Love that he just knows how to win free kicks in the 89th minute and beyond, and just putting his body on the line. He's winning headers when he knows he's going to get a smack. Brilliant. It's what you need. It's how you win games of football. ugly.
I think he's disappointed he's not starting when he has the SM's out.
I think he starts on Sunday.
Because Murphy's had a bit of a run in the team now where we've been winning games. And I think that's possibly the reason why Howe is loyal to his players. I think Fraser's probably felt a little bit hard done by that. He hasn't had a chance, especially when he SM's out. So if he gets his chance on Sunday, it's more about legs off the ball. I noticed I will come on. Actually, I'll leave it for Eddie Howe. Actually, I'll save that bit.
I was just going to say Ryan Fraser for me has to start on Sunday for Jacob Murphy. If ASM can't start, and even if ASM was on the bench, which I think probably is unlikely, I'd say it's probably a 20% chance at best. I would start Fraser. But if Murphy's going to have to do a defensive job last 20 minutes, if Fraser's had a tough afternoon, fair enough. He's got to start, in my opinion, just because he's fresher, and I think he's probably due a start and deserves a start, in my opinion. But get in the comments if you agree or disagree with what I said. Chris Wood gets a non-applicable for me. If Lee wants to put that on the screen, he can. Are you?
Just reading some of the comments about people are saying Allison should be starting ahead of them too.
Is Tottenham the right game?
Probably not, but if you're going to throw them in the deep end, there's no time like it, is there?
I think there's a deep end and there's
I swim in it.
There's a deep end and there's Tottenham away.
Yeah. Well, you were there last season. Went in.
Don't know what you're on about.
It's funny that, right? There's no word of a lie. Last time we did this live, Chris Wood was not applicable as well because he only got a few minutes.
He was fine. He was fine when he came on. He did no bad. Ran a lot.
It wouldn't surprise me that he starts either.
I think he's due to start.
Because Wilson having 3 games in a week is a big ask. We'll kick ourselves if he pulls up a hamstring out like that.
We will kick ourselves, especially with the fact that Isak's out. I think that's the biggest issue. So I think Chris Wood is 75% likely to start on Sunday.
And I think he'll play the Palace game as well.
Yeah, which is not the end of the world. It's not the end of the world. I think he can do a good job against Crystal Palace. But yeah, it wouldn't surprise me. But don't get deflated in the comments if he does start on Sunday in the watch along with Steve. Like, seriously, don't get deflated because he can do a job. And imagine if we're drawing or even winning and Callum Wilson comes on for 20 minutes. You know, there is even an argument to play.
Did he, right now we beat Leicester and scored 4, did he come off the bench? Or did he start that game?
Hey, Wilson?
Aye. Well, it was in lockdown.
I was at work. I remember just Paul Dummett scoring a header. I think he started.
Did he? I thought he came off the bench.
I'm not going to put money on it, but I think he started.
No, right.
But Boyle Sports are great if you want to bet.
Good plug.
Yeah, check Newcastle Fans TV's Twitter for that. I'd like to start with Eddie Howe, even trying to agree on this. 1-0, a good goal, clean sheet, 3 points on the board, 10 points in October. Newcastle in the top 6. Thank you very much, Mr. Howe.
I'll bring that up now. I noticed we weren't as pressing as much.
Fatigue?
Yeah, possibly, as we were, because Harry brought this up brilliantly, that first half of Man United, we were great. Second half, we backed off. We did again with Everton, so maybe the high pressing is starting to take its toll, and that's where freshness comes in. So if you're going to high press on Spurs, expect changes. I think you will. You can't ask the same set of players the amount of running that we do for 3 games a week. No, there'll be changes if that happens. But if we are playing a little bit more conservative, is that the right word? Yeah. Not a great party, put it that way. We won't be having any parties there. More balance, I'll say. I think then you might see an option with a mixture of the two. But I noticed, I'm not thinking about previous results. Look, you've came on a Wednesday night. We won 1-0. We won ugly. I'm going to call it ugly. It wasn't great, but another clean sheet, which is a rarity. Let's just say it, Newcastle have the best defence in the league. I haven't been able to say that since I've been watching football since 95. Even under
75?
Keegan. Nice. 95. My man would have been 12 then.
I'll say 95 on that mark then.
Yeah, so since 95, I've never been able to say Newcastle have had the best defence. I don't even think we did when we had that great run on a Pardew, when we went unbeaten. So I'll score him an 8 tonight. It's not as good as a performance, but we've got 3 points against the Scouse Magpies over here, which pleases me.
I was going to go 9. So who's going to...
So we'll go in the middle then?
We'll go 8.5. Why not? The reason why I just think it's a tad bit better is because the difference in the time in games. Everton had that extra day's rest to recover from this game. I know they've had a
question
problem.
I'll put in on that. Do you think us playing on Sunday helps? not the Saturday.
As in for the Tottenham game?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
It's an extra day, innit?
Extra day, plus Spurs have got to travel back. I know, and I know they're used to travelling back, but it's still a bit of a pain in the backside for them. And they're coming back from a defeat. So I do think that helps us as well. Probably not going to do anything on Thursday in terms of recovery. If they're going to come in, it's just a recovery session at best, not going to be training. So 2 full days on the training pitch before the game against Spurs, and let's see what happens. Am I expecting Newcastle to win? No. Am I expecting changes? Yes. But who knows? Newcastle have beaten Tottenham sides before in the past with worse teams, so it might happen, but it's a difficult ask at the weekend. But we'll see. But in terms of tonight, I was surprised that Eddie Howe went unchanged. I thought there was going to be a couple of changes in there, but I think he probably looked at it and gone, I think this 11 can be Everton, and it did.
But then, does that tell you he's played 2 in a row? There's got to be changes on Sunday.
Has to be. I'll be absolutely amazed if it's another unchanged 11 because you're asking for injuries. I think Willock comes in. I think Target comes in. I think Chris Wood comes in. I think Fraser comes in. So there's 3 or 4 changes. I think Lascelles comes in, whether you like it or not. Newcastle fans, he comes in for Schar.
Matty Target, mate. I'm all right with Matty Target coming in.
Yeah. Kieran Trippier, can he play 3 games in a week?
I think he could.
I think he could, but have we got anybody else to cover at right back?
Where's Mankiw? He's not named on the bench. Is he injured again?
Javier who?
So, and Emil Kraft still got a couple of months. We won't see him until New Year.
Oh, Emil Kraft could be out for the season, apparently.
Probably.
So that just shows you where we are. But yeah, it's going to be changed, mate. But the reason why I'm giving Eddie Howe a slightly better mark than yourself, Nick Pope has not had a shot to save tonight. And I think that just shows how good that defense has been drilled and how that good our defense is and how strong our defense is. And yes, we haven't had a lot of clear-cut chances, but we've put in a fantastic performance tonight in terms of, the effort. And that's all you ask. If you put in the effort, you get your rewards like Miguel Almiron does tonight. And that's why I'm giving him a 9. But they give him an 8. So we're going 8.5 out of 10.
8.5. But you notice the attacking is more tie press, and we're getting the ball further up the pitch now. If you look at like the previous manager, it's totally polar opposites. We were low block, park the bus, give it ESM, hope for the best.
It's amazing what can happen in 12 months.
It is, and he's been sacked again, hasn't he? So
anyway. Just before I finish, man of the match. I know we've given a few players 9s, but who was your man of the match?
It's a toughie. I'll say Botman.
Yeah, he was good tonight.
I'll say Botman. I'll go with Botman this time. I won't be Fabian Schar this time because he was sensational the weekend. But I think Miggy will get high mark because of his goal and his work. I know Harry given, but I'll say Botman.
I was going to say Schar. Getting the commentary.
Funny that's defenders again.
It's 2 defenders, 2 very, very good centre halves for Newcastle United, both with fantastic performances. Get your comments in. Who was your man of the match? Our man of the match is either Botman or Schar. Just tell us who's right, who's wrong, and if it is Miggy, tell us why it's Miggy. That's probably the main 3 in regards to our ratings this evening. But Lee Lawler is going to make that lovely trip down south to London on Sunday afternoon, where Newcastle take on Tottenham.
It's like my 3rd, 4th time at London in the space of the same amount of months, is it?
London's calling, Lee Lawler's calling as well. So make sure you watch the drive down. You watch the live watch along with Steve. Got scoring the. No, don't score on the players on Sunday, do we?
I won't be doing that.
No,
I'll let Steve do that.
Steve will do.
Not in a way it is so much.
Steve will do scoring the players on the watch along, and then we have the last word live from Tottenham.
Live, are we? Am I doing it live?
We'll say that again. The last word potentially live at Tottenham for Tottenham versus Newcastle. But yeah, that is scoring the players this evening for Newcastle's win against Everton by 1-0. We've got Mig in the middle, and he knows how to put the ball in the back of the net. We'll see you all very soon.